Just as it was not necessary for us to look outside the University of Michigan to find the art to be presented in the exhibition upstairs, it was not necessary for us to look beyond Ann Arbor to find a distinguished speaker to open our series. The Tibetan language is a very beautiful language. It's hard to pronounce, and so people often don't say Tibetan words, and they don't often know what they mean, but every Tibetan name has a meaning. And our speaker today really has 3 names. So when I'm talking about him to Tibetan monks or to the Dalai Lama or other distinguished figures in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, I refer to him as Nyari Khentrul. Nyari Khentrul means the incarnation of the abbot of Nyakre, which is a place in eastern Tibetan Kham. This was the name by which he was known at his monastery in Lhasa, Drebung Monastery, the largest monastery in the world with about 11,000 monks at the time that he was there. And at Drebung, he was a monk of Loseling Monastery, the monastery of clear awareness, Losel. He was identified as a Tulku, incarnate Lama, as a young age and trained by some of the greatest masters of the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, including both tutors of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Then, when I'm talking about him to scholars of Tibetan Buddhism, I refer to him as Ngawang Gelek Demo. We know him as a publisher of books. Right after the Tibetans came out in the early 1960s, the great Tibetan literary tradition was in great danger, with so many books left behind in Tibet, so many Tibetans carrying their precious scriptures, block prints and manuscripts across the Himalayas into safety in India. They needed to be published, and Ngawang Gelek Demo published many of these books to preserve them for the world. Ngawang means the power of speech, and he's an excellent speaker, as you will see in a moment. Yeah, right. I will try not to make him laugh because it will make that sound. So, okay. Gelek means auspicious virtue, and Demo means happiness or comfort. And then here in Ann Arbor, he's simply known as Gelek Rimpoche. Gelek, auspicious virtue, Rimpoche, jewel or precious one, a term that's used to refer to an incarnate Lama in Tibetan Buddhism, or by a disciple to refer to his or her teacher. So Gelek Rimpoche established Jewel Heart here in Ann Arbor in 1988 in Cherry Street. That was his house, and the center was upstairs. After that, Jewel Heart moved to Washington Street for some years, and then like other successful Ann Arbor enterprises, they became so successful they had to move south of town, just like Zingerman's, to South State Street area near the airport where they're now situated. So it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce Nyari Khentrul, Ngawang Gelek Demo.
Thank you. When I first came in Ann Arbor, my bread and butter was university. I taught language and did all kinds of things and whatever they are. So really great. So I'm very happy that you called me here today and giving me the opportunity. Very kind. Thank you. And before I came here, and I sort of vaguely remember the collection here with an anthropologist professor, lady professor, right?
Carolyn
Hogan, yes. And so I've been able to see those collections. It is fantastic, wonderful collection. Those Thankgas that you see upstairs, I just had briefly looked before I came down here, went up. And each one of them, it is really a beautiful art of its own. It has a traditional meanings, traditional message, perfect and gestures, as well as hand implements and everything. It's just wonderful. So, but now what do we do with those arts for the Tibetans? As it is, as we say, originally, drawing of the Buddha was made during the Buddha's lifetime by one of those Buddha's either disciple or suppose a king who would like to give some gift to his friend. That is basically where finally Buddha advised them draw a Buddha and then give the message of the Four Noble Truths underneath. And as far as I know, that is the beginning of it. So Buddha introduced Buddha's drawing, Buddha's art for people to practice, to meditate, and to learn. And all this practice, meditate means making difference in your life. Whether you sit cross-legged or stand or doesn't matter, whatever. The gesture doesn't matter but doesn't matter. That's not the major point. Major point when we use word practice and this and that, but it's really making difference to the individual and its life. To that person, that drawing is really represents, not only represents, but a substitute for a living Buddha. So does all other, either wrathful or peaceful, is really to make very difference to that individual practitioners. And what do you do with this is really utilize them as actually a Buddha in the room with you. So much so that you really think the Buddha is here. Until that level, they bring it in. That Thankgas or the drawings or the images or even photos or whatever. I don't know whether the postcards do it or not. Supposed to, but that was the purposes, and actually main representing a living Buddha there, and that makes whatever effect the individual get it. That's supposed to, and there are many ways of doing it. There's a thing called sadhana, self-generation, a field of merit. Some subject where you can create good karma. In other words, to make good business. Why you get Buddha in your room with all these efforts? Because I want to get some profit. In order to get that profit, I have to do business with Buddha. What do I do? How do I do business with Buddha? Well, I have something to sell. A Buddha has something to give. Right? So what do I have something to sell? Oh, little offerings. Maybe it's water, maybe it's flour, maybe it's incense, maybe it's my faith. Whatever maybe, I'll sell that. Right? So how do I pay it? In dollar? In pounds? In euro? Or maybe Singapore dollar? I'm just joking, right? But what I wanted is, the gain is a reduction of my bad karma and the building of my good karma. That is the business we do. All spiritual practitioners are, to me, it is business person. So you're doing business with the enlightened people, enlightened society. So what you are selling is you are what you're selling, you're really selling is your anger, you're selling your hatred, you're selling your obsession, and you're selling your jealousy. And what you're going to get it, compassion, love, and patience, enthusiasm, concentration, and wisdom. That is better than Bill Gates. So when I look at, when you say spiritual practice, living tradition, all of those, it's not necessarily mystical, mystery, or holy, or something, but very practical level. So I'm here to get rid of, particularly when you have those odd sales. When somebody wants to get rid of those garage sales. So we have a lot of those junk, we want to get rid of them, changing them to the hard cash. So that's what the spiritual practitioners do. So what we sell is, what we get rid of it, is our negative emotions, such as those, what I said. And what you're going to gain is some positive, a good karma. Maybe compassion, maybe some faith, all of those. And that is the spiritual business, to me. If you want to talk that way. If you want to make it either holy, untouchable, mystery, yes, you can do all that too. But all of them there. Most important thing, what you have to get rid of it, is ego grasping, selfishness. These are the two. And by cutting out those ego grasping things, you gain wisdom. Wisdom, which I don't want to talk much about it because Professor Lopez is expert on that. Wisdom. Honestly, many books he had translated, written it, many. But what you are getting out is ego grasping, which traditionally call it ignorance too, sometimes. And then by cutting that, you get wisdom. Wisdom, emptiness, which traditionally called, but really what it is interdependent origination. Am I right? Thank you. Well, at least he didn't say you're wrong. Thank you. So honestly, interdependent origination, which really tells you things will happen if cause and the conditions right, and which is very scientific, which is very acceptable in today's intellectual, society or whatever you call it, in intellectual people. It's a truth. It's really truth. When conditions are right, things do happen. When conditions are wrong, no matter whatever you do, it will not happen. And that basically a Buddha's law of karma too. They're all like this. There's nothing solid of anything, inherent existence of nothing. Not me, not you, none, no, for whatsoever. Things will change. Very true. I've been able to go back to Tibet after 47 years of exile, that is 2007, 7 or 6, I'm sorry, forgot. But I went back and I saw Tibet. And Tibet, what I have in my mind, based on where I was born, based on where I was grown up, and Tibet, what I see, then is different. Totally different. Except the Debung monastery, old monastery, it's all there. And they're funny. And when I went there, monastery received me very kindly. All monks lined up with the banners and all that. And they told me I can drive up to the General Assembly Hall, up to there. So being there, they're monks and all that. And then they took me from there down where my Nyara comes and belongs to. They have a ceremony there too. Then they were going to take me back up to this old big assembly hall up there. And so when they're taking me very long route, and I do know there was a step which you can go up. There's a very rough step. It's quite high, maybe some 80 or 90 steps at that time, I think. So I don't want to go that round because even those days I have a problem of walking. So I wanted to make it short as possible. So I got out of that thing and went, there's a little door there, used to be. So I looked at, there's the door, I opened the door and it opens. And I looked it up, the steps are there. Okay, I'm going to go through. I had a little umbrella, I'm putting it up. Then Hartmut came and he pulled me here. And I couldn't really climb the steps very up. By the time when I realized there are like 3 or 4 monks lifting me up literally like a doll or something, and 2 were heading here, and I was up there. But I was happy to see that step is valuable, it's not gone. And also, you know what? It is much more cleaner than what I remember. I don't know why, but much more cleaner than I remember. So things change. Things doesn't last. This is the truth of impermanent. Truth of impermanent is not a truth of emptiness, but however it's getting close. So living tradition really is this understanding. This not only understand, whatever you understand, it becomes your quality. You change the personality of the individual. If you are a little mean person, change that into little kinder, little gentler. If you are a person who couldn't care less for anything, but change that into little caring person. Whatever those depicted qualities on Buddha, whatever you have, you are getting those qualities. And that sort of thing continuing in life, in person, and I think that's what living tradition is all about it. I'm adding up this living tradition business just before I came in here, and somebody informed me, your subject is not Thankgas, your subject is living tradition. So I'm sorry, somebody might have told me months, years ago, but I completely forgot. And so So that's why I add up the living tradition. In other words, now you have to, the art and the living tradition, you have to put them together. Art represents not only a Buddha, the quality of a Buddha, compassion, caring, love, wisdom, and transmit that message, which is coming through generations, to ourselves. And looking at Thangka, what does getting blessing means? Getting blessing means some influence, some effect, some change of circumstances, so better things can be materialized, conditioned, something better can be happened. So to me, that is a blessing. I don't think there is something called blessing. Some big white cloud comes and give you a whitewash. Though you may visualize that way. Sometimes they tell you, but I don't think that happens. What really happens is looking at it. I mean, the same thing. We look at the different informations, right? We get a lot of information. We are bombarded with information through radio, through television, through everything, through newspaper. Maybe not so much now, but all this. And so you see it, you feel it, you understand, and that changes your personal attitude similarly because of the things you see. Otherwise, why should people put money to advertising? Honestly, they change your mind, they will influence you better. And that is the commercial blessing we're getting. And so we expect exactly the Buddha's blessing by looking at the Buddha's picture, remembering what he has done, remembering, trying to figure out how he has dealt his problems that encounter. It's not that Buddha was problem-free. Certainly not. We look at the Buddha, we'll say today, how wonderful, great, and this and that. But if you really look at it carefully, this guy is just an Indian guy running around with a chappal, maybe a sandal or not, but maybe not even a shoe, just running around in the dust and having every problem, the family problem, political problem, the country's problem, poverty, and each one of them are having problems, and try to overcome those problems, not only the physical, but the mental, emotional. And to me, that is Buddhism. Personal experience of handling these problems, improving your life, sharing with others, try to help whatever we could. And one thing, most important, if you can help, you should help out. If you can't help, we have no right to harm. And that is the real essence of Buddhism to me. This is the real essence of living tradition to me. This is what art conveys the message to the individual. And then I will say, thank you, bye.